Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
How do you define success? And how do you know when you have achieved it? Lynda McNutt Foster has helped executives all over the world build successful teams and reach their goals. Stephanie Klein-Davis is an award-winning photojournalist who has spent nearly 4 decades telling stories with her camera. Now she is training the next generation. We will meet both of these women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by Step out the door with confidence, ready to conquer the day. Whether you are going to the cafe down the street or headed into work, you know you will always look your best in Cabby Styles. Your stylist, Darlene Marshall, will help you pick the styles that make you sparkle. And Cabby has styles for all body types. Call Darlene at 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, and follow her on Instagram at Dapper Darlin.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Buy local this holiday season and get unique gifts on time. Start your holiday shopping at the New Moon Network store for original artwork by the Virginia artists featured on the Sisterhood of the Second Act set. You will also find Sisterhood merchandise there. Stop by the Earthworks Artworks Gallery at 228 South Pollard Street in Vinton, Virginia, or shop online at newmoonnetwork.com and have it delivered to you. Your purchase supports Virginia artists and local programming by the New Moon Network. Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Lynda McNutt Foster is a researcher, internationally known executive leadership coach, an author, Forbes contributor, and television commentator. We are excited to have her here today to talk about success and leadership. Lynda, you're the CEO and founder of Cortex Leadership Consulting. Tell us a little bit about what you do through Cortex.
Yeah, we help companies scale. So the scaling of companies and their businesses are all about the people that they have, the people they're recruiting, the people they're developing, the people that have to strategize, and so we help them with their people problems.
I love that. And then one of the interesting things that you often do with clients is a DISC assessment. Right. So can you explain for our listeners what that is?
Yeah, I mean, DISC is very simple. It's a behavioral preference assessment, right?
Okay.
And so someone takes it and they're answering the questions, and then it, sort of gives you a long assessment back that tells you whether you like to focus on task or people, whether you move slower or faster in relationship to 26 million people that have been given this assessment. So we usually couple it with an assessment called driving forces, which is about what motivates you.
Ooh,
so yeah,
big connection?
Yeah, the motivators are the PhD, DISC is the elementary school, right? So motivations help you tell you what drives you. So are you driven by return on investment of time and energy? Or are you driven by harmony and your surroundings? Or are you driven by learning and knowledge? Those type of things. And that really helps you find someone's genius zone when you start doing several assessments and then having a conversation with them, because that's what we're really trying to do is go, what is a person's genius zone? Are they in it? Right. If they're not, how do we get them? So are then they in the right role to begin with?
Right.
If they're not, how do we get them a better one? And then how do we keep them in, the role and help them see what their potential is and really realize that on a daily basis.
So how does that translate into a leadership role? How can that make them more effective?
Right. So it's self-awareness.
Okay.
So the more self-aware we are, we can kind of tell, oh, our anxiety is up. And when my anxiety is up, I tend to fight. Okay, so if I'm fighting and the situation doesn't call for that, then I probably need to back that down. So the more self-aware we are, it's like EQ, the more self-regulated we are, we can become aware of those things that are driving us, and we're able to turn it up or down based on the situation that's necessary. And we're even able to say, what's in front of us, I should not be leading right now. This person who's on my team needs to step up and lead. So it's like the Navy SEALs, like there is no one leader as much as there is a team alignment, and they get in a zone, and then whoever is needed in that situation leads, and the rest of the team trusts them to do it. So on a day-to-day basis, that's what we're trying to assess for, train for, and really put leaders through scenarios and situations that help sharpen their tools to do that.
That sounds like excellent skills to have. So we are talking with Lynda McNutt Foster about success and leadership, and I would love for you to define leadership for us in the way that you would define it.
Well, I study this, right? And so leadership to me has the most important thing is leading. And I think if people stop worrying about what a leader makes or what leadership is, and simply go, what skills are necessary for me to lead in different situations, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so what you really want to focus on are sort of the 4 behaviors, the 4 keys that are necessary to lead others effectively, and they are getting results.
Okay.
You're not leading anything if you're not getting results, right? Seeking others' perspectives and knowing how to do that. So when to listen for information, not confirmation. How to be supportive and not rescue.
Right.
So how to see the person as a creator and bring their best selves out in them on a regular basis, motivate them. And then how do you problem solve? So it's important to understand and learn strategy in order to lead people effectively, because they're looking to you to have discernment.
That makes a lot of sense. And, with so many different personalities out there, it's probably, it is a skill set that you need to make everybody cooperate, I'm sure, to work together.
Yes.
So I guess the next thing is our audience is women, some of them entering into their second act, and they might not think that they're a good leader. So what are some qualities that are, or tools that you could maybe give them to think about going forward, or resources that they have?
Each year, if we raise our self-awareness, if we understand what our strengths are, if we continually build our skills, right, then we're constantly evolving, and we can do things today that we couldn't do last month or last year, and certainly 10 years ago.
Yes.
So the first thing I would say is build your networks.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
as you evolve, having people seeking different perspectives on what your strengths are, where you can bring, if you want to make money from any act that you want to be in, then you need to find out where the money is.
Okay.
Right. And I think that's where women really struggle is, one, they think they have to be competent before they can be confident. You don't. Men don't. Right?
Yes.
They go, look, if that guy can do it, I can do it. I'll learn what I need to do. So they need to be confident and realize that their competence will follow. They need to learn skills like negotiation, sales. Like it's a bad word to sell, but think of influence, think of advocacy, and then talk about money. Find out how much things pay you to actually do them. Right, so many people spend $80,000 on a degree, and they get out and they take a $35,000 a year job.
Exactly.
Like, you can go on Glassdoor.com. You can research what anybody makes anymore. It's not that hard.
I love that. Yes. So I guess the next question that we would like to say is, these sound like skills anybody can adopt and learn. So what do you think prevents women from taking a leadership role sometimes?
Well, I think that I wrote an article about this for Forbes. It's about the balance between authority, responsibility, and accountability. Okay. So when men go to negotiate a leadership job, a job in leading others, they'll negotiate what authority do they have. What authority am I going to get? What resources you're going to give me? What am I going to be accountable for?
Okay.
Women start with, what am I going to be responsible for? Wait, I'm only responsible for 2 people now. I have to be responsible for 10 people. I have to be responsible for the entire department. And they get in this heart space before they get into the logical strategy space and negotiate what level of authority they need to be able to accept that level of responsibility.
Absolutely. We're talking with executive coach Lynda McNutt Foster about success and leadership. And you've worked with many men and women, obviously. Are there things women are more likely to do that undermine their ability to lead?
It's that confident versus competence thing. It's the lack of confidence to say, I can do this. No one's smarter than I am. No one's more capable than I am. I can work hard, but also just accepting the current reality of what you can't do and not feeling bad about it. So women will spend a lot of time persecuting themselves, hitting the bat up. I can't do that. I can't believe I'm so stupid. I can't believe I can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. Instead of, okay, I need to get a skill in that space. Okay, I need some help in that area. Okay, like just going, this is what it is, and not spending any energy worrying about yesterday as much as just assessing it and moving on.
Right. Stop listening to those negative chatters, right?
It doesn't. It sucks the energy. Drama sucks the energy right out of us, and then you don't have the energy that you're going to need to be agile and resilient in today's marketplace.
Yes. Okay, well, success is one of those ambiguous terms. So how do you help people define it?
I think I start with the end in mind, right? Like Stephen Covey. Start with the desired outcome. What does right look like? So let's go 5 years ahead. What are you going to have? What are you going to be doing differently? How are you going to feel? Who are you going to be? Like, let's look way ahead and see what you want. Let's see what type of people you want to surround yourself. What excites you? What could you do all day long that brings value to other people, right?
I love that. And I really like that you empower people to take some of this responsibility on their own, and then it sounds like you reinforce it to them so that they come to the decision themselves, but with your guidance of, people need to come to these things themselves, it sounds like.
They need to experiment. So one of the things we do as we get older is we stop experimenting because we're terrified of failure. Yes. Like, what a joke. Like try. I've tried a million things I've failed at. Trust me, I have failed at way more things that I have been successful at. But you just experiment. So you don't know whether or not you're going to like Excel. Get on for a couple hours on YouTube and learn Excel, learn coding, you're going to stumble upon something that you had no idea that you actually had a talent in.
I love that. So would you say that success is linked to clearly defined goals? And if so, how do you approach it?
I think that's a really good question. And what I would say is a desired outcome is, what right's going to look like for you, and it's an aspirational thing. A goal is something you can measure. Right. So you want to set that desired outcome, and then you want to set the small goals to meet up to it, realizing that the goal is not the end. Because people go, I didn't reach that goal.
Right.
What was the desired outcome?
That's right.
Right? So how do you create the small steps? How do you measure that? How do you keep yourself accountable? Is there anybody you need to help you be accountable? That's why mentoring is really important. So if you want to rebirth, be resilient, change into your 10th or 15th act, then who's going to mentor you so they can show you and talk to you in ways that other people can't?
It sounds like really good advice because, people talk a lot about goal setting. I mean, I've heard SMART, goals and things like that. I like how you break things down so it's into pieces so that people, it sounds like you give them almost like a step-by-step, something to work with rather than throwing the whole book at them, right?
Yeah, what I have actually found is it's the first 5 or 6 steps that are the hardest. Once they get that confidence going, then they just have momentum. So it's starting from a dead stop to getting momentum is absolutely the hardest part. But once people, women especially, get that confidence and that momentum going, like move out of the way because now they got it. And it's a miracle to get to watch every day.
And I totally agree. It's those first few steps that you can stumble and fall on, or you can just You pick yourself up and keep going.
Yes.
I love your theories. So as we found out in our first season at Sisterhood of the Second Act, there are a lot of women over 50 doing amazing things. Would you please share some words of wisdom that inspire you when you are having a hard day?
So wait, there's this work called the 3 Vital Questions. And so to me, it's if I want to trigger my prefrontal cortex, because if I'm having a bad day, I'm not in my higher level thinking, I'm in my lowest level thinking. So what triggers your prefrontal cortex are very high quality questions. So the 3 vital questions are, where am I putting my focus right now? Am I focused on what I can't do, or am I focused on what I can do?
Excellent.
Right? What I don't want, what I do want. How am I relating to other people? Because at the end of the day, that's going to matter.
Okay.
Like what kind of relationships I have. Am I looking at you as a creator and someone who's capable, or am I thinking I need to rescue you?
So you're talking more in a leadership, not for somebody maybe that's in a self.
I'm talking about any human being on this planet. Where are you? It's psychology. Where am I putting my focus?
That.
Thank you. Yes, it's all about it's basic psychology for any of us. Is where are we putting our focus? How are we relating to others, and what small action step that I can take to get to my desired outcome? So if I'm not in that space, I know I'm in drama internally or externally, and when I'm having a bad day, I need to refocus that, and I need to say one thing: there's no rescue coming. There's no rescue coming.
Oh my gosh, light bulb. Say that again.
Yeah,
for our listeners.
There's no rescue coming.
Okay.
Like, I have everything that I need to be able to get out of whatever the heck I've gotten myself into. So stop with thinking that a rescuer's coming and go, I need to get up, get strong, I need to put my focus on the right thing, and I probably need other people's help to get there.
You have inspired me. I always think like I'm one big believer in self-development. So I love this. You're giving me all kinds of ideas. And Lynda, I just want to thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. This has been really great.
It's
I really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. And we will have Lynda's contact information on our website at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com. And when we come back, award-winning photojournalist Stephanie Klein-Davis will join us.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Step out the door with confidence, ready to conquer the day. Whether you are going to the cafe down the street or headed into work, you know you will always look your best in Cabby Styles. Your stylist, Darlene Marshall, will help you pick the styles that make you sparkle. And Cabby has styles for all body types. Call Darlene at 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, and follow her on Instagram at Dapper Darlin. Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. When Stephanie Klein-Davis began her photojournalism career back in the 1980s, she was one of only a few women news photographers. Her talent, toughness, and persistence on stories fortified the news coverage with often dramatic images. Thank you for joining us, Stephanie.
My pleasure.
Tell us, when did you decide you wanted to be a photographer?
Well, to do it as a profession, I don't think that came until after I was in college. And there was a professor at Tulane University where I went to college that I just connected with. And I think that's where the real passion started. But I really started in photography in high school because my dad did it as a hobby.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
you got to learn from somebody that already knew?
Yeah, and my dad and I built a darkroom together in our basement. We had moved to Ohio from Virginia. When I was 9, and the house that they bought was really old, but they added this storage kind of room on, and we ended up converting it to a dark room. And,
oh wow, that'd be fun to have.
It was wonderful, and I didn't want to paint it black, so we painted it kind of a really dark blue, which didn't really matter. It's just that it absorbs the light. And but I would spend hours in there blasting music and printing till like 3 a.m, and so I learned a lot of it from my dad.
Yeah, that's when we used film and cameras, right?
It was all and the first camera that he gave me, I think, was an old Nichromat, made by Nikon, and 35 millimeter, and the first film that I shot was slide film, color slide film.
Okay.
I think it was Kodachrome, and you had to send that off. But then later we were using different film, and
sure.
I learned how to print color as well. So it was really.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So was there a particular photograph that you took that said, I'd like to make a career out of this, or did it just because you had been doing it and felt and really enjoyed the whole thing?
It's funny because I was thinking about that, and I know that there wasn't just one photo that said that tipped me in that direction. But I will say that when I learned that I could go to concerts for free, when I was at college, I was on the school newspaper, and I got to go to all these wonderful concerts for free if I agreed to photograph the concerts. And a few times I had to write some stories too, but mostly it was the photography, and I just thought that was like the greatest thing in the world, to get to just, otherwise I'd be spending a lot of money.
Sure.
So.
That sounds like a really fun way to do it, actually. And then how did you end up at the Roanoke Times?
So I was working in Myrtle Beach at the Sun News, which was my first job.
Okay.
I had gone to graduate school for journalism, and I interned in Dayton, Ohio. And then the first job after I finished grad school was at the Sun News, and I was there about 1.5 years, and I shot like 7 assignments a day. There were only 2 of us when I started, and it was exhausting. And I had like a 2 to 11 schedule, Tuesday through Saturday, which was okay because I was young. I couldn't go on a date because Friday and Saturday nights I was at high school football games and basketball games, that kind of stuff.
So were you given assignments or a certain number of photographs you had to produce every time, or how did that work?
We were always given assignments, but sometimes we would generate our own story ideas.
Okay.
And then we did a lot of feature photography. But what happened was I went to a photo conference. I think it was sponsored by the National Photographers Association, Press Photographers Association. And this particular conference was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I met a bunch of photographers from Virginia. And some of them were from the Richmond paper, and some of them were from the Roanoke paper. And it was my friend from the Richmond paper that later told me that there was an opening at the Roanoke paper. And so he said, you should apply. And he called the editor and said, she's going to apply. And I applied, and they wined and dined me, and I had a great interview, and that was in 1987, and I've been living in Roanoke ever since.
Wow.
So, yeah.
We're talking with photographer Stephanie Klein-Davis, and Stephanie, you have covered everything from fashion to travel. Do you have a favorite subject that you like to cover?
That is the most difficult question, because what I really loved about working in the news business was that every day was a surprise. Like every day, I didn't know from one day to the next where I was going to be going or what I was going to be photographing. And the only planned things were like fashion sections. We used to do fashion sections, and I thought I wanted to be a fashion photographer. But then there was also a period where I thought I wanted to be a sports photographer, and I even thought about applying to work for a team. But I kept getting drawn back into wanting that variety.
Well, I'm sure you have very many, but is there 1 or 2 memorable stories you could share with us from your adventures?
Sure. Let's see, where do I begin? There are some series that I worked on that are probably some of my more memorable and projects that I feel most strongly about in terms of their success. And what I mean by that is they in some way affected people's lives or helped people's lives.
Wow. Sure.
So one was a series I did with reporter Mary Bishop and Shannon Harrington, who's no longer in the area. And we traveled around away from Roanoke to do some of the story, but the story was about housing stock in the city of Roanoke. And sort of the conditions of it, stories about the tenants that rented, about the landlords, and all the issues that involves, and the socioeconomic impacts, and all those variables that affect housing, or things related to housing.
We're talking with photographer Stephanie Klein-Davis, and I've heard that you've since left the Roanoke Times to teach. Can you tell us about that?
It's very bittersweet. I absolutely loved my job at the Roanoke Times. I love just all the opportunities that it, gave me. It was like a continuous education every day. But the industry was shrinking, and my staff went from like 10 to down to, there were just 2 of us in the downtown office. And we were functioning and everything, but the different companies were buying us, and they were looking at the bottom line, and there weren't raises for a long period of time. And I was getting concerned because, I would like to, I was worried about, am I ever going to be able to retire?
Right.
And the opportunity presented itself that there was an opening at William Fleming High School to teach photography. And I had been teaching at Virginia Western as an adjunct instructor for about 17 years off and on. I taught 1 year adjunct at Hollins University, and I really loved teaching. And so when they offered this opportunity, I thought, they'll never pay me enough to take a high school teaching job. But it was reasonable, and I'm quite pleased, and I feel there's a lot of support from central office there, and these kids, they need to learn more about being creative and expanding their minds and their views of the world, and it's fun to see that happening, and I have a lot to give back, so I feel like it's my opportunity.
I love that. So what do you hope your students will take away from your classes?
My major goal is that they learn to notice things they wouldn't ordinarily notice, and also that they sort of develop a personal style in their creativity, no matter what medium it's in. I incorporate a lot of writing in my assignments as well, just to sort of get them to be able to articulate what the messages are that they want to relay through their images. So,
well, Stephanie, this is all fascinating. So just tell us quickly, what is next for you?
Well, I don't know when next is really, but I will most definitely stay at the schools probably another 5 to 10 years, somewhere in there, I think. Okay. That's what I'm thinking. At least that's what my financial advisor's thinking.
Yes.
But anyway, but I also do some side projects. I'm working on a grant, an educational grant with the Winston Links Museum to create a little educational program for students, along with Sandra Kelly and Steve Stinson, who used to be an artist at the Roanoke Times, and he does a lot of freelance in the area. And so we're working on that, and otherwise I'm freelancing a lot.
Stephanie, it's been such a pleasure to have you on this show. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me, and thanks for your interest.
You're very welcome. And we will have Stephanie's contact information on our website at Sisterhood of the Second Act. Stay tuned. We'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
Kathy's wardrobe provided by cabbie stylist Darlene Marshall. See the styles in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecond.com.
I want to thank Lynda McNutt Foster and Stephanie Klein-Davis for joining us today. Lynda taught us the importance of women stepping into leadership roles with confidence, and Stephanie taught us that you can use your career to help others. I'm Kathy Heberle. Join us again next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.